Welcome to The Eye Opener. I'm your host, Michael Lewis. The Washington Post quietly admitted to falsifying quotes about former President Trump. Tucker Carlson was attacked by the U.S. Marine Corps. How did this story end? And after the $1.9 trillion relief bill passed, what should we expect next? Yep, you guessed it, a major tax hike. Okay, my friends, let us take a closer look together. The U.S. Marine Corps admitted it's wrong at the center of a controversy attacking Fox host Tucker Carlson. The Marines' 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force Information Group, 2nd MEFIG, deleted several inflammatory tweets Saturday and issued a series of apologies for its inappropriate responses. The 2nd MEFIG said they are human and they messed up on the matter. Their intentions were misinterpreted, and now they will adjust fire and ensure the utmost professionalism in their tweets. So what happened? It goes back to March 9th on Tucker Carlson Tonight. Last Tuesday, Tucker Carlson mocked Joe Biden's military priorities such as tailoring combat uniforms for women and creating maternity flight suits.
Where we're making good progress designing body armor that fits women properly, tailoring combat uniforms for women, creating maternity flight suits, updating requirements for their hairstyles.
So Carlson offered this opinion.
So we've got new hairstyles and maternity flight suits. Pregnant women are going to fight our wars. It's a mockery of the U.S. military. While China's military becomes more masculine as it's assembled the world's largest navy, our military needs to become, as Joe Biden says, more feminine, whatever feminine means anymore, since men and women no longer exist.
This immediately outraged some military officials. They claimed Carlson, who never served in the military himself, can't question Biden's policies. They somehow took Carlson's comments as an insult to women serving in the military. For example, General Paul E. Funk II tweeted, "Let's be clear, women make our military stronger." Sergeant Major of the Army Michael Grinston tweeted, "Women lead our most lethal units with character. They will dominate any future battlefield we're called to fight on. Tucker Carlson's words are divisive and don't reflect our values." But they didn't stop there. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby held a news briefing on March 11th saying, "What we absolutely won't do is take personal advice from a talk show host or the Chinese military." Following the briefing, the Department of Defense published an article titled, "Press Secretary Smites Fox Host That Dissed Diversity in the U.S. Military." The U.S. Marine Corps began to attack Carlson. One of its official Twitter accounts, the 2nd MEFIG, called Carlson a boomer. What it looks like in today's armed forces at Tucker Carlson. "Get right before you get left, boomer." Command Sergeant Major Ben Lemon even said, "The DOD didn't attack your show. We absolutely disagree with you. Trust me, you'd know if the DOD attacked you. It's a doctrinal term." They extended their attacks to random Twitter users as well. Come back when you've served and been pregnant. Many people were shocked over the military's lashing out of civilians. Mounting criticism began to fire back. Representative Rick Crawford called the military's act unquestionable, for they leveled personal political attacks on a media figure. Newsmax contributor Jesse Jane Duff said, "Tucker presented compelling arguments on the United States government's priorities, policies, and national security based upon the CIC's own comments. In other words, he did his job." When military leaders criticize a civilian they disagree with politically, it should be concern for all Americans. Former White House Deputy Chief of Staff Dan Scafino warned the 2nd MEFIG saying, "Our adversaries are watching every move you're making right now, and they're laughing their asses off at the clowns behind this official U.S. military account, targeting and harassing a private citizen." This is how Tucker Carlson responded to the Pentagon's criticism of his show.
Here's a reminder. The U.S. military exists to fight and win wars. That's its only purpose. Making people feel valued and included is a good thing. It is not the point of the U.S. military. It cannot be the point of the U.S. military, or else we're done.
In light of the ongoing chaos, Senator Ted Cruz submitted a request to Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin to set up a meeting with the commandant of the Marine Corps. Cruz called the military's behavior ostentatiously childish and outrageous. He wrote, "I cannot imagine how any of the above behavior can be explained, and I am deeply concerned about what it portends to the direction that you and President Biden intend to move the military." Tucker indeed made a great point in his show. Joe Biden is changing America faster than anyone could have ever imagined. He's now bringing gender identity politics into the military. Everyone should agree there are far more important issues to address for strengthening the military to better defend the United States. But the current leader doesn't see it that way. Joe Biden thinks, or he is made to think, measures to enhance inclusiveness are the priorities. Promoting women's maternity flight suits and hairstyles at a press conference. We're not questioning women's capabilities in serving the military here. We are concerned over the direction that Joe Biden is leading the military into and how other countries, especially our rival nations, are looking at us. Now, at the very least, no one should argue letting pregnant women fight in war is a good idea. Last Thursday, the Washington Post quietly admitted that 2 months ago, the Post printed falsified quotes about former President Trump. Trump never asked the Georgian investigators to find the fraud and be a national hero. Instead, Trump was urging the investigators to scrutinize ballots in Fulton County to find dishonesty. The Post's correction should have been breaking news. We cannot let it correct its wrongs in the dark, because 2 months ago, when it's reported the misquoted phone call, that was the mainstream media smoking guns.
Breaking news as NBC News confirms the details in a story that first broke in the Washington Post just moments ago.
Shortly before Christmas, President Trump called the state's chief elections investigator to, quote, find the fraud, saying that that official would be, quote, a national hero if that individual did so.
We're now learning President Trump pressured another Georgia election official during a phone call to, quote, find the fraud in Georgia's November election. This comes from a new report that has been confirmed to 11 Alive by a highly ranked source.
The Post blames the source for the mistake. It explained 2 months after its reporting on the phone call, the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, released the audio recording of the conversation between President Trump and the state's top election investigator, which revealed the error. But why has Raffensperger waited until March to release the recording? Where did the falsified information come from? The Washington Post didn't reveal these details. Last night, former President Trump issued a statement following the Post's correction. He said, "While I appreciate the Washington Post's correction, which immediately makes the Georgia witch hunt a non-story, the original story was a hoax right from the beginning." Trump asserted Fulton County has not been properly audited for vote or signature verification, and he would further appreciate a strong investigation into the county. Trump also said, "You will notice that establishment media errors, omissions, mistakes, and outright lies always slant one way, against me and against Republicans. This latest media travesty underscores the legacy media outlets should be regarded as political entities, not journalistic enterprises." As the election cycle has passed, more corrections of this kind are on their way. Nevertheless, it's always good to find out the truth. If you want to keep hearing real news that the mainstream media will not tell you about, please consider donating to the show. Our donor box link is in the description. Also, to get this information out to as many people as possible, please like and share this video. I also want to thank all of you who support us every day. It's a pleasure to be able to deliver to you news that matters. Okay, my friends, let's get back to the show. On Saturday, the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, finally admitted the record number of illegal immigrants are overwhelming U.S. agencies. In February alone, there were 100,000 attempted entries. DHS is now seeking help from the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said that they are working hard with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, and their goal is to ensure that unaccompanied children are transferred to the HHS as quickly as possible, consistent with legal requirements and in the best interest of the children. Mayorkas explained that calling in FEMA is part of a 90-day government-wide effort to deal with the surge in foreigners at the border, ignoring the fact that they are the ones who brought the illegal immigrants in. Kinney County Sheriff Brad Coe said that Texas ranchers are calling his department every day. They complained of the increase in migrant traffic and the related damages to their property. His deputies closely monitoring remote farm to market FM roads handle organized human trafficking, which frequently lead them on high-speed pursuit. Sheriff Coe said, "In good conscience, I cannot let the smugglers have our highways. It's too dangerous for the public." This year, Coe noticed an increase in human trafficking cases where smugglers are carrying firearms. More so than in other years, his deputies have drawn fire. Vehicle pursuits often exceeding 100 miles per hour can also lead to migrants dying as a result of the carelessness of the smugglers. He recounted one accident in 2020 where 2 migrants died when smugglers led authorities on a pursuit through rough back roads. The ranchers also report a spike in burglaries and damaged fences caused by migrants or smuggling vehicles trying to avoid authorities. Texas Governor Greg Abbott warned Sunday that Border Patrol officials informed him the humanitarian crisis on the border is worsening, which is fueling Mexico's notoriously violent drug cartels. He said in the Rio Grande Valley sector alone, all of last year they made 90,000 apprehensions. Already this year, in the first 2.5 months of the year, they have made about 110,000 apprehensions. Including in those apprehensions are 800 criminal aliens who have previously been arrested and exported from the United States, 78 sex offenders, and 62 gang members, which include MS-13 gangs. Immigrants who are swarming to the U.S.-Mexico border say Joe Biden promised them they would be allowed to enter the country. A woman who traveled to the border with her son said, "Biden promised us that everything was going to change. He hasn't done it yet, but he's going to be a good president for migrants." Another woman in tears at the border said, "Biden promised us." On Monday, White House Press Secretary John Psaki defended President Joe Biden's handling of the migration crisis, insisting he was working on expediting the process for unaccompanied minors into the United States. When a reporter asked him if the White House believed they had a handle on the border crisis, she replied, "We certainly do." Another Democrat, Texas Representative Veronica Escobar, denied there is even a crisis.
Part of why I bristle at the insistence by Republicans to say there's a crisis at the border is because they want to ignore the context around it.
Well, I think we have enough context. On Sunday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi blamed former President Trump for the current crisis at the U.S. southern border. She said, "What the administration has inherited is a broken system at the border, and the Biden administration is effecting a transition from what was wrong before to what is right." Pelosi claims that they are working to correct that in the children's interest. Pelosi says they're acting in the children's interest, but their policies which created the border crisis are what leads to the inhumane treatment. The Customs and Border Protection Facility in Texas is holding a staggering number of children in concerning conditions as the population of unaccompanied minors held in Border Patrol custody has jumped nearly 700%. CBS News reports that lawyers representing the migrant children are lodged complaints about their treatment after interviewing children who complained about overcrowding, of being left hungry, of going days without showering, and of never seeing the sun while being housed in the Texas detention centers. One of the lawyers, Nia Desai, interviewed children who said they were hungry, as well as minors who are only showered once in 7 days. She told the press that some of the boys said that conditions were so overcrowded that they had to take turns sleeping on the floor. They all said they wanted to shower more and were told they couldn't. On Sunday, busloads of migrant children were moved under the cover of darkness into a local holding facility in Midland, Texas. State and local officials received little or no advance notice of the federal government's plans to move these migrant children into their community. Now, Governor Greg Abbott was surprised too. He said, "If they're going to be working with us, the governor of the state of Texas has to know what they're doing. How many of those people are going? Where are they going after that? And what kind of COVID protocols are they using?" Monday, the Dallas City Council members got a notification that the Dallas Convention Center will be used for up to 90 days beginning this week to house 3,000 migrants, including 15 to 17-year-old unaccompanied migrant children. Dallas officials described the site as a decompression center. Thursday, Senator Tom Cotton rips the Biden administration's approach to immigration policy. He said, Joe Biden is great on immigration. I guess that depends on your perspective. If you're a human trafficker or a drug dealer or all those migrants wearing the Biden let us in shirts, you'll give him an A++, but the American people will give him an F. He predicted last fall that with an all-year-long open border, amnesty, and healthcare for illegals, the border would be jammed with illegal migrants. That's exactly what's happened since the election. Cotton said, and the principle is simple. If you let them in, more will come. And that's what we see with Joe Biden's administration calling illegal aliens customers and changing the names of detention centers to reception centers, and then giving them tickets for bus rides or plane rides to wherever they want to go inside the country. Now, Cotton understands that migrants are seeking better jobs and better health care and better communities, but he thinks it's not what the American people should be asked to shoulder. On Sunday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said that under former President Trump, the border was under control, but the Biden administration created this crisis. He said, I think that this is intentional. I think this is ideological. Florida would not tolerate the kinds of rioting and looting that have plagued other states, pledging their support of law enforcement. DeSantis said, we're targeting local governments. If they try to indulge in these kinds of insane fantasies, like defunding law enforcement, the state will take action and defund them as municipalities. Anybody that wears a uniform, don't have any doubt, the state of Florida stands with you. DeSantis also noted that the recently passed $1.9 trillion COVID relief bill rewarded Democrat-run states that had damaged their economies with strict lockdowns with money from states like Florida.
We are getting penalized by about $2 billion because we have low unemployment, because we've saved the economy, because also we have lower COVID mortality than a lot of these lockdown states. So what this bill does is it say if you lock down, if you destroyed your state, if you destroyed your economy, and you failed to stop COVID as well, you're going to get a windfall. So some of these lockdown states are getting an extra $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion. So it's effectively a transfer of money from states like Florida and Georgia to states like New York, Illinois, and California. It stinks to high heaven.
What will come next after the $1.9 trillion, quote, relief bill? A massive tax hike. Bloomberg broke this prediction yesterday. It says Joe Biden is planning the first major federal tax increase since 1993, a follow-up to his pandemic relief bill. Washington Examiner comments that the possible tax increases could be the boldest since President Bill Clinton's 1993 overhaul of the tax code. According to people familiar with Biden's tax initiative, the current proposal includes raising the corporate tax rate to 28% from 21%, raising the income tax rate on individual earnings more than $400,000, a high capital gains tax rate for individuals earning at least $1 million. An independent analysis estimated the Biden administration would raise $2.1 trillion over a decade. During the 2020 presidential campaign, Biden wasn't shy about his intentions to strip President Trump's tax cuts.
Let's raise the capital gains tax for people making over $1 million a year to ordinary income. Let's reverse the Trump tax cut. And I would be going about eliminating Donald Trump's tax cuts for the wealthy. That's why I'm going to eliminate the Trump tax cuts.
Under regular rules, to move the tax bill in the Senate, Democrats would need at least 10 Republicans to back it. Even though Republicans are unlikely to support any major tax hike proposals, with a Democrat majority Senate, Democrats could use the budget reconciliation process to pass the bill without any GOP votes, as they did with the $1.9 trillion package. If it comes to be, will Kamala Harris find new ways to call their tax hike popular and bipartisan again? I guess we will have to wait and see. And that's it for today, my friends. Please like and share, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe. Check out these playlists right here for more eye-opening content. Now remember, you can follow me on Gab, Parler, and Telegram. Don't forget, please sign up to our email list so that we can stay in contact with each other. Thank you all, and I'll see you next time.